So let me just welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. It's a great turnout. I appreciate on a beautiful evening that we have tonight that you decide to spend it with us indoors. But a pretty important topic we want to talk about tonight. And so I do very much appreciate everybody coming. I'm your Congressman, Dan Newhouse. And let me say I'm very much honored to be able to serve you in Washington, D.C. I'm just beginning my second year. Been there just over a year now. It's been a tremendously interesting experience. I can't tell you, I couldn't have picked a more interesting time period to be in Washington, I gotta tell you. To have Mr. Thompson come, so I invited him to see firsthand and to hear from you, the people of the Okanagan, so that you have a better understanding of what it is that we've been facing the last couple of years. And I think today we've done a pretty good job of illustrating to him, at least visually. But now we have an opportunity for you to express yourselves as well. And so this is going to be, I think, a very, very important evening tonight. We did several things today. We visited fire areas to see firsthand the extent of the damage in several areas of the state. We drove up the Methow Valley, came across the Loop Pass, Highway 20, saw some real stark differences in the land that's been managed versus the land that hasn't been, and the impact of the fire on those lands. You know, I just thought of something. I would be remiss. Let me just introduce and recognize a friend of mine in the crowd. State Representative Joel Kretz is here this evening. Just got back from Olympia yesterday, so Joel, thanks for being here. And I think I recognize Jim Detro's here, Commissioner, as well as Ray Campbell. I thought I saw Ray here somewhere. Okay. So thank you guys for being here as well. You know, a lot of things happened as a result of the fire. You know, housing crisis because of all the homes that were burned. Leaving people with tremendous issues there. We saw firsthand some of the impacts of the soil erosion from some of the flash floods that have occurred. You know, when you lose all that vegetation, there's nothing there to hold the water, and these creeks can fill up pretty darn fast. And so we saw what's happening there. We saw impacts of the agricultural industry, which is truly a big part of the economy in Okanagan. We didn't see firsthand, but we heard about some of the impacts that the tribe has experienced as well. Fully, I think, at least 250,000 acres on tribal land was destroyed. Huge economic impact to the tribe. You know, a lot of things have happened, and that's one of the things that we want to hear from you folks tonight. But one of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years is truly the bravery, the generosity of the communities of the Okanagan. People coming together under such adverse conditions to help each other, come through these really difficult times. And so, you know, you see signs like Patera Strong out on the highway, and things like that are truly, I think, indicative of the kind of people that live here. So I'm very proud of the fact that I represent a district such as this that can be faced with such challenges and yet literally rise up out of the ashes. It truly is a tremendous thing to witness. But like I said, we don't want to go for number 3. With your help and with a lot of folks here at this table and a lot of people that aren't in this room, hopefully we can make some improvements to the systems that are in place that we can avoid these things happening again. I think some things, you know, you just get good at doing things after a while, right? In 2 years of fires, I hope we're better. Hope we're better prepared. Hope we're better at responding. But there are lessons to be learned, and certainly there's things that we could do differently. And that's some of the, we're here to listen and to learn, to take back, you know, GT and I, we want to be able to go back to Washington, D.C. with some real concrete solutions on what we could do as Congress better, so that we can better face these kinds of situations. And I should tell you, it's not just the state of Washington, even though that may not make you feel that much better, but every state in the West is going through exactly, in some degree, the exact same things that are happening right here. And so what that does, you know, misery loves company, I guess, but what that does is there are congressional delegations throughout the whole West that are very interested in finding solutions on how we can do things better. It's still not going to be easy. As you know, we have tremendous fiscal challenges in this country. A lot of things that require the attention and the finances and the resources of the federal government. But there certainly are huge needs in fire country. And so we want to know where we can best put our resources to be as efficient as possible, to use those resources we have as wisely as we can. And so with your help, we can find those things that we can do. I should point out that I've got a couple members of my staff in the room, so if there's some particular issues that we can help you with, please I'll have them raise their hands. If you probably saw a couple of them at the table when you walked in. But if there's something that you need more attention than we can give you tonight, more than a 5-minute answer to a question or something that we can spend some individual time with you, please let us know. And then I should say too, we've only got this room for till about 7:30 or so. Maybe we can squeeze out a little more time. And there's a lot of you in the room, and I hope we can hear from as many of you as possible. And so let's just be respectful of the time, and we'll try to as well, and not be too long-winded up here so we can get to your comments and your questions. So with that, again, I appreciate everybody coming. I hope that this is a very productive evening. We certainly are open and want to hear from you. I know that nobody's bashful in this room. And Sheila, I forgot to recognize you. I didn't see you till just now, but there's Sheila Kennedy as well. So thank you for being here. And so with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, the gentleman from Pennsylvania's 5th, Mr. G.T. Thompson. G.T.?
Well, Dan, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I'll tell you what, it really is a privilege and honor to be here. I want to thank Dan for the invitation to be able to come and to be able to see and to touch and to hear the impacts of what you all have been living with these just catastrophic wildfires. My name is G.T. Thompson. I represent the Pennsylvania 5th Congressional District. You almost can't get any further away from here than there. I'm the central part of the state. I represent a quarter of the state of Pennsylvania. And I may be from the east, but I've got a national forest. I've got an issue with, I have rural economies that are struggling in that national forest. Mine, I guess, where I'm blessed, I have what's considered to be an asbestos forest because of all the water we have, little wetter conditions. But our wildfires are invasive species, which are chewing up and killing the timber. And so I do chair I'm in my 3rd term, chairing the Agriculture Committee on Forestry and Conservation. It's a passion of mine, and the forestry in particular. I guess I come from good stock only because it was a Pennsylvania governor, Gifford Pinchot, that wound up being the first chief of the Forest Service. And he was a guy that was, I think, had a pretty good vision of how you actively manage the forest. And so when Representative Newhouse asked me to come, I didn't hesitate. Now that I'm here, I only just wish I had planned to stay a few more days. Because when it's not on fire, this is a beautiful part of the world. And I'd like to spend a little more time out in those woods and maybe wet a few lines in some of those lakes. Dan talked about how we're here to hear concerns and issues, but solutions too. I like to say that, that you're doing the job well, you're taking homegrown solutions to Washington. When I talk to the folks I represent back home, I tell them, I'm not here to bring Washington home. Trust me, you wouldn't want it here. I'm here to bring your homegrown solutions to Washington. So I'm here with my friend here so that we can do that. and to build on the success that we've had with the Forestry Committee. We kind of gave it a new life here when I first stepped in as chairman, and in fact, I want to thank, there's a number of you in the room that have been to Washington, have been in my office, actually have testified before my committee. You brought your solutions right to Washington, and that's very much appreciated when you do that firsthand. Some really good solutions that we've been working on. And we have accomplished some things, but we've got a long ways to go. You know, the role and responsibility, as I see it, of our committee in agriculture that has responsibility for forestry is to make sure that we have healthy forests. Because when you have a healthy forest, you have healthy rural communities. When you don't have a healthy forest, you have some of the problems that we've seen here. And the same problems that I have in my congressional district. And so I am really honored to be here and really looking forward to hearing from you. And again, I want to encourage you, obviously want to hear your concerns and you know, whether it's about, when it comes to wildfire, certainly prevention, your thoughts on forest management, on some of the restorative work to take that fuel load out, whether it's about fire suppression, whether it's about salvaging, reclamation, just all across the board. And so really looking to get your ideas, your solutions, and appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Looks like a full house.
Thank you, GT. And then gentleman will give a couple minutes to, and if somebody doesn't need an introduction, your neighbor, Mr. Peter Goldman, Commissioner of the Department of Natural Resources.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many friends and neighbors here. I want to thank Congressman Newhouse for the invitation and for providing this opportunity for all of us. And I want to particularly thank Congressman Thompson for taking the time and effort to come out here and view firsthand what has happened here over the last 2 fire seasons. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I want to thank not only the 2 members of Congress who are here tonight, but I want to thank all of you and many others in the community here in Okanagan County who have made such a concerted effort not only to help in the suppression. We got many volunteers who came into both Omak and Colville during the last fire season and offered, and many were very helpful during that awful fire season of 2015. I want to thank everybody who made a positive contribution there. There are also some in the room here who have now become members of Wildland Fire Advisory Committee, and I really appreciate everyone's support and all the great advice and involvement that we're getting from those members, several of which are here tonight. No one agency can make sure these fires are all out, and no one agency can make sure that we are prepared both in terms of our community and in terms of our forest, prepared for the certainty of fire. We've had maps done, and some of those have been published in the local paper, that show the enormity of the landscape that's burned here in Okanagan County over the last 15 years. And it is stunning to see that nearly 50% of the county has burned during that period of time. And many of you who are here tonight, I know, have suffered loss as a result of wildfires. So what are we doing about it? As many of you know, I'm responsible for running the Department of Natural Resources. We have lands here, and in addition to the fact that we have enormous responsibility to put out and suppress fire on all private forest lands here in Okanagan County, as well as all state forests. And we work and collaborate with the U.S. Forest Service on those lands as well as their lands and everywhere that fire is present. We know the threat is higher now than it was in the past, and we must build our capacity to meet that enormous threat that we in the county here and elsewhere in the state have experienced over the last 2 years. So as a result of this enormous threat and the absence of sufficient resources, and I will say this bluntly, sufficient resources here not only in state, but as many of you know, over the past fire season, we reached out and received resources from over 40 other states in this nation, as well as 1 Canadian province, 2 foreign countries. And for me, this is intolerable. We must have sufficient in-state, on-call firefighters to be able to meet the need of this county and the rest of the state. I think we all know that Okanagan County is one of the most fire-prone counties in the state. And because of that, I asked the legislature for another $24 million in this supplemental session to cover the need of having sufficient resources to put the fire out. Not just for DNR, but for local protection districts, as well as to train the National Guard, Native American tribes, contract tribes, and members of the public, so that we can be well prepared for what may be coming our way. So I want to thank Representative Kretz for his help. We were able to get a small percentage of that, roughly about $6.77 million, which we will put to use as quickly as we can. However, we know that the fire season is already on us. There was an escape burn in Eneas Valley earlier today, so there's not an awful lot of time for preparedness. But we're going to do the best we can with the scarce resources we have. We will position more fire trucks here in the Methow Valley and here in Okanagan Valley of recently purchased trucks with additional crews. So we're adding our capacity here through the investments that have been made and authorized by the legislature in the past session and this session. I care about you folks. This is my home county. I want to help protect you as best as I can, and I know there are many others who will do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Mike Williams, Forest Service. I should say was a tremendous tour guide and host this morning and this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good evening, and thanks for coming out tonight. Thanks to Congressman Newhouse and Congressman Thompson for joining us. It has been a good day today. We had a chance to get out this morning and take a look at some things on the National Forest that I think helped them understand some things about going on here and help me understand a little bit about perspectives and issues that they face and are working on in Congress. Appreciate the Commissioner's remarks as well here. DNR is an incredibly close and fruitful partner here for us here, and we got done what we got done this last season because of them, and we'll continue to do so. I'm new here. I'm a newcomer. Been here since Memorial Day last year, more or less. I'm not new to the job. I was forest supervisor down in the Kaibab National Forest in northern Arizona for the better part of 14 years before coming here. And so I sort of know how those things work. I'm new to the geography and the people and the issues, and been busy since I got here figuring out what those are all about. But 2 weeks after I got here, back in June, the first fire, Sleepy Hollow Fire down there near Wenatchee, took off, and we were running from that point all the way through October to deal with fires on the National Forest and helping with cooperators as well. It's been an interesting introduction to north central Washington. This is a fire ecosystem, obviously. There's been fire here for a long time, although there have been many changes, and they're causing us to rethink how we're going about managing, suppressing, dealing with fire in general here. The Forest Service at large has seen a substantial increase from the mid-1990s, and not so much in the numbers of fires, but in the size and the severity of those fires. Still, after all this time, we're able to suppress 98% of those fires very quickly. It's that other 2% that really drives us hard, and it's what we're dealing with here, trying to figure out how we do that better. Since 2010, I think on the National Forest System, 8.8 million acres have burned, most of that in the west. Different places, depending on different years, depending on droughts, depending on weather, depending on lots of different things. but a huge amount of land burned just in these last 5 years. 2.7 million acres just in the last 2 years, and the state of Washington contributed to that. On this 4 million plus Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest, this past year we had roughly 175,000 acres burned. That's a large percentage of the forest. It pales in comparison to some of the impacts to state and private grounds, but still it's huge, and it chased us all around trying to get the job done here this year. We're looking ahead to 2016.